Hey, hi YouTube. You can call me Chai. For today's video, I figured we would really briefly recap and rank Black Mirror episodes for seasons 1 through 6. This tier list ranking was made by W. Thayer, so thank you for that. And we can go ahead and jump right into it. If you're unfamiliar with Black Mirror, it's an anthology series that I know for sure you can stream right now on Netflix. And the main theme is basically technology and the different effects it can have on society and people depending on the usage of it. That's a really basic kind of summary, but you'll see it's kind of like Twilight Zone with an emphasis on technology. Okay, so jumping right in. We are going to go down to Season 1, Episode 1, The National Anthem. Okay, so I haven't watched this episode before, but I was told about it way back when it first came out. I think it was when it first came out. One of my best friends, she watched it, and she gave me like the whole rundown on what it was about. Based off of the content matter, I wouldn't think that I would have watched this show in the future, but the thing is, I forgot the name of the show that she watched. Ended up watching this, but not that episode. For whatever reason, I skipped it. But if I watched it, I probably wouldn't be able to look at pigs the same way again. So you can take that for what it is if you haven't seen it, but if you have, I mean, if you know, you know. Okay, so next up on the list, we have 15 Million Merits. This is also one that I haven't watched. I started it, but for whatever reason, I didn't finish it, and I haven't remembered really to go back to it until now. So maybe one day I'll watch it, but unwatched for now. Which is funny because the next episode is The Entire History of You, and I say it's funny because that's the first episode that I did watch. For whatever reason, I started with the third episode. Okay, so we're gonna do a brief little recap of it. The Entire History of You. This story takes place in a society where everyone has technology implanted in their minds to where they can do memory retrieval. Think of it like a photo carousel on your phone. You can do like that, but it's your memories, which can be pretty handy, but if you abuse it, it obviously can be detrimental, and that's basically what happens here. A guy, he uses it pretty frequently, it seems, to go over things. Like we see him going over a job interview he had, and he's constantly overthinking, every little detail of what's said to him during it. He ends up doing this exact thing in regards to a dinner party that he and his wife attends, and he feels uncomfortable with how friendly she is with one of the attendees there, an old friend. Very long story short, he basically loses his mind over this, confronts the guy, and threatens him to go through his memory retrieval. He sees that this dude is actually having an affair with his wife, and based off of the dates in the memory retrieval, his child might not actually be his. So that's pretty devastating, and in the end, he ends up alone, and he takes his little memory retrieval out. He cuts it out of I think it's behind his ear. And it's really kind of sad and ironic because even though he cuts that out, I'm sure he can still see everything and play it over in his brain like you and I can, the normal way, but it's still pretty effective, I think. So my feelings for this episode. When I first watched it, I thought it was so scandalous. I was like, oh, this is a fun little episode to get started with. Oh, okay, the stakes weren't too high, but high enough to have some tension. It didn't feel like it was a life or death situation. It got kind of scary there for a second because I didn't know how far it was going to go. But it wasn't life or death. It was devastating, but it was one of those things. It was like a train wreck. With that being said, I think this... I was blown away when I first watched it, but as I watched other episodes, my ranking for it probably changed. It was pretty decent. It's a good episode to get started on, for if you want a light entrance into the show. But when you compare it to all the other episodes that there are to watch, it kind of makes sense why it's not in the upper 2 categories. Okay, bear with me. I don't know how popular that episode is or not, but next up we have Be Right Back. That was a really heavy episode. There's a couple here, and they're moving into a new home. And very, very shortly afterwards, the man, I don't know his name, he ends up passing away in an accident. And this, of course, is devastating for the woman, but extra salt gets added to the wound because she finds out that she's actually pregnant. She's in the process. I wish I remembered the characters' names. I have my notes, but I didn't write them down in the notes, so sorry. But the woman, she's trying to process, and grieve this horrible circumstance. But a friend kind of suggests to her a AI technology thing she can use to where she can talk to her boyfriend. But it's, of course, AI. I think she was able to fill it up with his text messages so it could get an idea as to his tone and voice through that way. But also, it gets a little bit more complicated because the texting starts to, it goes into voice notes, and the voice notes, they go into phone calls, and then the next thing you know, she's ordering up an android body that she has to remove from the box, put in the tub, and wait for it to be ripe and ready to function similarly to her boyfriend. In theory, I can see how this could be helpful. I think the android might be pushing it a bit too far, but we'll get to that later. Anyways, she, rather than processing her grief and working through it, she basically starts living kind of in an imaginary world with this boyfriend, it's not a replacement because it's not him. It's this episode is messy. Anyways, she realizes this life can't be. It's not. She can't have the life that she would have had if he hadn't gotten into the accident. And she basically tries to get it to jump off a cliff, and the android doesn't respond the way her boyfriend would, which enrages her. And I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but I was kind of left unsure if he did jump or not. But the episode ends with a flash forward to the future, and the little girl, they have a little girl together. She goes up to the attic for her birthday, and there is the android of her father, and she spends some time with him. And I think that was actually kind of beautiful, because it's kind of it's sad because he's up there in the attic, but it's kind of where you would put maybe old photo albums of past loved ones or family in general and stuff. So I kind of liked that parallel there. That was pretty cool. But yeah, very heavy episode. I cried like a baby, but it was great. It was good. So with that being said, I will have to put it in all the feels, because I don't know if I want to put myself through such a traumatic experience again on purpose. Next, we have White Bear. That was a fun episode. A woman wakes up. She has no idea who she is, where she is, why she's there, but she's in an abandoned home. All she knows is that she might have a daughter because there's this photo of a little girl that's there. So she runs out the house, and there's people that are standing around filming her with their phones. They won't interact with her. They won't talk to her. She's asking them, "Who am I? What's going on?" Nothing. Okay, now she's being hunted. People pull up and they have, like, guns and stuff, and they're hunting her. So she has no idea what's going on. She runs until she gets to a gas station and finds a woman there. The woman helps her out and explains basically that people started acting weird when a facility started transmitting a certain kind of frequency, I think it was. People started acting strange. She basically says we need to get to that facility to turn it off, and then, hopefully things will go back to normal. They try to run from more hunters that find them. They end up meeting up with a dude who somehow, I can't remember, he gains their trust enough to where they get in the car with him. I guess maybe because he doesn't outright look like he's hunting them and people with guns are chasing them. So yeah, get in the car with a stranger, I guess. I don't know. But they do, and well, wow, guess what? He is hunting them because he gets them to the woods and pulls a gun on them. The girl from the gas station runs away. The one who woke up in the house, she it's done for her almost, because girl from the gas station comes back. She ends the guy with the gun, and they make their way to the facility to turn off the transmitter. More hunters come and are about to shoot them. Woman who doesn't know who she is, she gets a gun, she's about to shoot, and then confetti comes out of the gun. And it turns out this is all, it's a ruse. Is that the word for it? This isn't what it appears to be. This is her punishment for participating in the slaying, unfortunately, of the little girl who she believes is her daughter. That little girl was a victim of her and her boyfriend. He, I can't remember if he got sent to jail or death, but her punishment is to basically live the day that we just watched her live on repeat forever and ever. She gets taken back to the house in a little barrier cage cube thing that looks like Joe Goldberg from You wanted to take his victims on the go or something. They take her in that back to the house and they knock her unconscious and get everything set up for the day to repeat again. And this is White Bear. So, how do I feel about this episode? Very, very conflicted, because she literally committed one of the worst crimes I think you can commit towards one of the most vulnerable people. It's don't mess with kids, don't mess with animals, don't mess with old people, preferably don't mess with anybody. But those three, it's you have to be really low to do something to them. With that being said, I don't know, after how many times this happening, when is she no longer the same person who committed this crime? Because they completely broke her as a person, completely, to where it almost feels kind of sick, and it makes me mad that they make me feel conflicted towards her because of what she did. But that's good writing, and it really makes you think, and things that make you think, that's pretty good quality. So I'll have to say 10 out of 10 would watch again. Good job, writers, for that episode, because wow. Okay, next up, the Waldo moment. I watched this episode once and I don't remember much about it, so my notes are going to come in handy. Bear with me. Okay, so there's this guy, and he's the voice for an animated bear, and the bear has commentary on different events, or cultural events and stuff that happens and goes down, He ends up reluctantly getting involved in politics, and he ends up becoming a candidate in an election that they're having. Because why not? An animated bear, sure. Why not? This guy ends up running into a woman, and she's also running for the election. She's a candidate. They really kick it off. They end up hooking up with each other. But she ends up being told that she should avoid him because hanging around him, especially right now, is not a good look for, what she's trying to accomplish. So honestly, I think communication could have been a little bit better, because if I remember correctly, she didn't even tell him, hey, I'm gonna back off. But I mean, everybody, honestly, in this episode, I didn't like anybody. Everybody annoys me. That already tells you enough, probably where I'm gonna put this episode. But not necessarily. Anyways, she just stops talking to him. He, of course, is bothered by this, because, you probably would be. The thing is, the reason why I mentioned communication would have been nice is because she says that she was going to contact him again once the election was over. If you could send just a real quick message, that probably would have helped a lot of things. But he ends up insulting her really badly, and another candidate on some kind of it during an interview. Long story short, the guy is basically really telling everybody, don't vote for the bear, he loses his job as the bear, and society turns against him because the bear says he's an enemy. So they turn against him. The bear ends up losing the election, but it seems like he's running the world somehow. The guy who was the voice for the bear ends up homeless and gets beaten by police in one of the final scenes. Pretty grim, pretty dark. My feelings, it's an okay episode. It's obviously not memorable. I didn't, put much work into my notes for it. There are worse episodes that you could watch, but there are several others that are much more entertaining. So I'm just gonna put this under meh, because it's alright. It's okay, I guess. Okay, so next up we have White Christmas. I actually almost watched this episode on Christmas last year, but I'm so glad I didn't, because I watched it a couple weeks later, and that would have put me in a pretty bummed out mood, I think. We start with this episode, and it's two guys in a cabin together, and they're just hanging out, being guys. This is a stories in story kind of episode. So they're sitting around sharing tales of the past. This first guy, his name is Matt, he's sharing a story about his past. He used to be the leader of a group of guys on the dark web who would get together, and he'd basically train them on how to talk to and interact with women. Disgusting! So basically, one of his guys goes to a party and meets a girl. Things seem to be going pretty well. They go back to her place. They're really kicking it off. Until he, unbeknownst to him, until it's too late, he becomes a part of her. I don't know how to say it, but she basically ends both of their lives. I don't know the best ways to say this for YouTube, so sorry, YouTube, if that's offensive, but it's what happens. Yeah, he becomes an unwilling participant in her plan she wants to carry out. Another story he ends up telling, he would also train cookies, as they're called, to be personal assistants. It's little clones of people, if I remember correctly. The other guy, Joe, he shares his story now. He tells the story about how he was blocked by his wife after they get into a fight with one another, about whether or not they should go through with having the baby that the wife is pregnant with currently. They end up breaking up, but he keeps stalking and just creeping around. Is it the wife's or his ex-wife's dad's place? Yeah, he's a creep. He does that. he's just watching and spying, and it's around Christmas time every year that he does this. Some years later, the woman ends up passing in a airplane accident. So he goes to visit the daughter because now I didn't mention, when she blocked him, she couldn't see him, hear him, any of that. That also, and he couldn't, see her, hear her. That also applied to the daughter. But now that she has passed, the block is removed so he can see the daughter, and he sees from afar that this child is very much not his child, if you catch my drift. His wife appears to have been having an affair with a mutual friend of the two of them that they had, who was Asian, because this little girl is Asian and he is white. So that doesn't make any sense at all. So he's obviously very devastated at finding this out, and he totally crashes out, and he ends up going there and killing his ex-wife's dad. And this ends up leading to the death of the little girl because she tries to leave to get help, but there's like a blizzard outside and she doesn't make it very far at all, which is really devastating. So it turns out this whole thing was a setup by Matt and local authorities. They wanted a confession, and that's exactly what they ended up getting. So straight to jail you go, sir. And Matt ends up registered as a offender for life and is blocked from society forever. And you can set time, and his time is set at 1,000 years a minute for forever. So just endless suffering. Very bleak. Like I said, if I would have watched this during Christmas, oh my god, that I would not have been in the festive holiday spirit, I think. So I'm just gonna put this under all the feels, good or bad, because it's a memorable episode. I'm not really looking forward to watching it again, though. I might, but not anytime soon. Next up, Nosedive. Okay, so in this story, society has it set up to where you basically get the best opportunities and experiences based on your social rating. People can rate you after having social interactions with you, after liking certain posts that you might make or photos you might upload. Very much a social media kind of parallel, but taken to the most extreme. So this episode, we follow Lacey, who is very wrapped up in this world and this kind of thinking, and it ends up being her downfall, sadly. She gets contacted by an old friend. When she makes a post that gets popular enough, she gets contacted by an old friend who invites her to her wedding. She ends up going through a lot of situations that cause her rating to go down on her way to this wedding. Lots of mishaps, to the point where she gets uninvited while she's making her way to this wedding. But this doesn't make her stop at all. She decides to go for it, and along the way she hitchhikes with a truck driver, and the lady basically shares how she ended up with such a low rating. And her story, long story short, is basically, don't get wrapped up in all of this. It's not real life. You can really live once you let go how trying to be perceived a certain way, So she gets Lacey to wherever it is she's trying to get to, as far as she can, and gives her some liquid courage, which will come in handy later, kind of. So Lacey makes it to the wedding, having drank, of course, that liquid courage, and she just totally crashes out and kind of makes a fool of herself, but it's necessary. She ends up in prison there, and with that being said, she has now had her social ranking technology that's in her removed, so she can't see any of that. And it seems like she can finally see the world for what it is for the first time. She looks at dust particles that are floating in the air, and there's a guy across the way, and they start insulting each other back and forth, but it seems like they're kind of enjoying it. And it's really nice because it's like she's getting to have her first human interaction without an expectation of getting a high rating in the end. So it's really genuine and cool. With that being said, and how little I had to look at my notes for this episode because I love it so much, I'm putting it under 10 out of 10 would watch again. I think it covers really great topics. You can really apply it to real life because some people kind of handle social media like, that episode, like the characters do in that episode. And it's just really good acting, really good moral. It's just perfect episode in my opinion. A really good episode to get started with Black Mirror if you're not familiar with it. But I mean, if you're watching this, I guess you already are. Next up is Playtest. I'll be straight up. I watched this episode once. I remembered very little of it because I was just so stressed watching it. And I was such a heaping mess of tears in the end that I think my brain tried to erase the traumatic experience. What I do remember, there's a guy, he's traveling. His dad recently, within the past few years, passes away from, I think, Alzheimer's, because there's an emphasis here on memory. He needs money. He met a woman in a club, I think. He stays with her for a little bit. He needs money, though. And so she suggests him signing up for some kind of a game trial experiment type thing. I think at first it's pretty easy stuff. He does whack-a-mole, I think. Virtual whack-a-mole. They have to take his phone. It's crazy. This is going to be a really messy recap because, like I said, I'm just going based off of my memory. This episode was really disturbing, so bear with me. Basically, long story short, we end up finding out that the whole episode, a big chunk of it that we see never actually took place because the guy ended up dying 0.4 seconds into the test, the trial. Spoiler alert, there you go. It really broke me though because his mom is trying to call him and get in contact with him. He won't answer her phone calls. And me personally, I'm very close to my mom. And I'm not gonna cry. That frustrated me. So, I mean, shoot, I wouldn't watch it again. But all the feels, good or bad. Gonna take a break from recording. Oh my god, what is this? Ew. Okay, got that under control. We're good. We're gonna take this. We're gonna thug it out. We're good. We're not gonna cry. Here we go. Next episode, Shut Up and Dance. Okay, yeah. This was actually the second episode of Black Mirror I watched, and so to go from the entire history of you, which like I said was really scandalous but not high stakes, I was genuinely worried for this kid. And then it turns out, spoiler alert, he's a total scumbag. So he gets caught, taking care of some business in front of his webcam, and he doesn't know he's being recorded. These people hold this over his head as blackmail, and they give him strict instructions he needs to follow to ensure that this doesn't get out. So of course, nobody would want that kind of a video to come out, so they follow these instructions. He has to I think deliver a cake to a guy in a hotel, and I think the guy was about to cheat on his partner, on his wife or something. He was about to cheat, I think. He ends up also being blackmailed by these people. So our original guy, his name is Kenny, the one who's trying to make sure his video doesn't get released. They have to team up together now to rob a bank. So Kenny goes in to rob the bank while the other guy, he's gonna be like the driver. Kenny goes in there and he's a big nervous mess. He even like pees on himself, the poor thing. I say that because when I was watching it, I felt bad for him because I didn't know everything that gets revealed in the end. So going back in my mind, no, because otherwise, no, screw that guy, screw him. Yeah, he makes it out. They have to go to the woods. He gets dropped off in the woods by the guy from the hotel, and another dude appears, and a drone is flying around. This guy is also being blackmailed by these people. The two of them need to fight to the death. Kenny, he doesn't want to have any of that. I think he tries to like end himself, I think. I can't exactly remember how it ends, but it ends with him being on the phone with his mom, and she's basically like, oh my god, what have you done? These people, they released the video, they released the whole context to everything. The actions he was doing in this video was to content that involved you know, so crazy episode for that. But I don't know if I would, me personally, watch it again. It was alright. I was more thrown by that plot twist, but it can go with that was decent. Crazy episode though. Next up, we have San Junipero. Okay, so spoiler alert, I'm gonna tell y'all already. This goes 10 out of 10 would watch again. This has to be my favorite episode of television at all, ever, at any point in my life. Okay, so it takes place in like 1987. The city is San Junipero. Looks like a really nice beach city. I would like to live in a place like that. You know, looking at it, it looked pretty cool. Nightlife looks really fun. We have our first main character, a girl named Yorkie. You could tell she's really shy. She's quiet, reserved. Probably comes from like a more, you know, sheltered background based off of, you know, how she's interacting with the people around her in this club. And then we have Kelly, who is the total opposite. You can tell immediately she's full of life. I mean, the characters' personalities show in their clothes. Kelly's wearing like vibrant colors. Yorkie's wearing like more pastel, kind of not stuff you would probably wear to a club in the 80s. I don't know. I wasn't at a club in the 80s, but if I was, that's not how I would go. But no judgment to Yorkie. I love her. So basically, they meet up under, you know, circumstances. They end up talking and really getting along, even though their personalities are night and day. And they end up really, really getting along. And this kind of scares Yorkie, who, you know, she retreats. And then, you know, we go 1 week later, and they end up finding each other again at this club the following week, and they end up, you know, hooking up finally, you know, getting it on. And feelings are really starting to develop here, it seems, which is a big no-no for Kelly. So she starts to avoid Yorkie, who decides she's going to try to find her. She hears about a club that Kelly she hears about a club that Kelly might be at now. She goes there. I'm not going to like reveal everything about the episode, but she goes there and basically finds someone who tells her more likely or not where she can find her. Yorkie ends up finding her, and they, you know, finally have a chance to really talk and kind of explain what's going on. Kelly can finally do this, and she explains her situation. She's currently, well, I guess before I do that, I should probably explain. San Junipero is basically, it's a cloud. You get uploaded to this cloud when you pass away. And so you can live forever, and you can live in whatever decade you want. You can dress how you want. You can change your outfit however you want. Basically, you live this life after life. Kind of like the song at the end of the episode, Heaven is a Place on Earth, and it's San Junipero. So, Kelly is on a trial, very much like Yorkie. You can do this if you're older, or towards like the end of life, to figure out if this is something that you want to end up doing before you become a permanent resident. So they're both on their trials. Kelly's currently dying, and she doesn't plan on staying as a permanent resident. This is just for fun. She has a whole life, of course, outside of San Junipero, and it includes the love that she has for her late husband and her late daughter, who neither one of these people are in San Junipero. So the idea for her to stay in San Junipero, which is exactly what Yorkie plans on doing at the end of her time, this is a real conflicting thing for Kelly, because these two people that she loved so much, and I think she was with her husband for over 50 years, 60 years. The love that she has for these people is still so strong, and the idea of her still living forever but never being with them is, of course, something that's really deep and conflicting for her with the feelings that she has that are growing for Yorkie. She ends up talking Yorkie into telling her where she can find her in real life so she can visit her. And this is exactly what happens. Kelly in the real world goes to visit Yorkie, and it turns out Yorkie is in a coma-like state and has been for the past 40 years. She came out to her parents, who are not accepting of her, and during the fight of it all, she goes and drives off, and she gets into an accident, and she has been stuck this way since then. So that's one reason why Yorkie seems so enamored with the idea of San Junipero and running through the waves on the beach and dancing in the sand and everything. Kelly finds out that Yorkie is going to be getting married to one of the assistant nurses or something at this facility where she's at, so that he can sign papers to end her time and her suffering and have her fully uploaded to San Junipero. And Kelly decides, why don't you marry somebody who you've had a real connection with? And that's exactly what happens. She signs the papers once they are married, and Yorkie is now a permanent resident of San Junipero. So she tries to talk Kelly into staying. They get into a fight. It's bad. They kind of avoid each other. In the real world, Kelly, time is passing, and she's deciding that her time is now up and she's ready. So she goes ahead and she passes away peacefully. And in a surprise ending, we see that Yorkie arrives at the beach house that they go to, and Kelly walks through the door, and they get together in the car and drive off into the sunset together. Kelly decided she will be a permanent resident of San Junipero with Yorkie, and this story is so beautiful and I love it so much. It's so bittersweet because you can tell she does love her daughter and her husband so much, but I think it's beautiful she gets to start life again here. And that doesn't erase the love that she has. It's beautiful that she gets to love again. Beautiful story, 10 out of 10. I'm gonna stop. I'm just rambling on because I love this episode so much. Okay, next up on the list, Men Against Fire. This is going to be a quick one to make up for the rambling I just did because I haven't watched that. Sorry. Moving on to the next one, Hated in the Nation. Something to keep in mind for this episode is in this society, I think obviously bees are dead So they've replaced them with like little robotic bees to, I guess, since if they die, we die. So keeping all of this in mind, people, are being recorded in certain situations, be it like a celebrity giving an interview or someone just out in public and they get recorded. And in these instances, it's people who might be saying things that are very politically incorrect or just things that can make people upset. And these people, one by one a day, are like mysteriously dying. Investigators find out that this is due to a game that's being played on social media. People are doing #death2 whoever to give their vote for who at the end of the day needs to die. The deaths are being carried out by these robotic bees that are making their way into the people's ears and getting to their brain, causing issues. Scary stuff. The investigators find out about this, and it's basically a game of consequences, as it's called. The major plot twist comes, though, when they figure this out and they're like this close to finding the guy who's doing it. But that's when the consequences come for everybody, because the people who posted and participated in this game on social media by using the hashtag and putting in their votes for the people that should be taken down, these people become the next targets, and it's a mass casualty event because a lot of people were putting in those votes, and it's pretty ugly. The episode ends with one of the investigators in court telling this tale. That's also, I believe, how it started. It's a retelling of the events, and the other investigator, who at first we believe is no longer living, she's actually undercover and tracking like right behind the guy who's involved with all of this, and it goes off, so we can only assume she's right there, so I'm sure she caught him. Wow, it was I really love episodes with plot twists that really get me, that just really shake me up. I was not expecting the bees to be the issue, and I was not expecting the people who put their votes in to end up becoming targets for these bees also. So with that being said, I think this should go under. I don't know if the plot twist was good enough for me to... I'm stuck between either all the feels or that was decent. Because I'm not sure it made me feel so much as that I was entertained by the plot twist. I'll probably put it under that was decent. Because, I mean, I didn't come away from it as emotionally shaken as I did from these three already. But it was a good episode. Next up on our list, we have USS Callister. Okay. Ooh, that's a fun episode. Okay, so we have these two guys. They're running a company. It's a game company. There's a guy named Robert and his friend / business partner, James. They run this company. James is basically the face and personality, and Robert is the brains. Robert is also a doormat, it seems, in real life, and you'll understand why I'm saying in real life in a second if you don't know. It really seems like the game can't run without the code that he writes, because one of the main characters who comes along, her name's Nanette, she talks about how she loves his code. She knows the code of the game inside and out. She's just really passionate about it, which he kind of, takes as her being like that about him, subtly, to the point where he's just a little creepy. One of the coworkers tells Nanette, to kind of be careful because he can tend to stare. So Nanette, she starts to kind of distance herself, and this puts a target on her back, unbeknownst to her, because Robert is really a creep. Robert is a weirdo. Robert likes to take his DNA from his coworkers and upload it into the modded version of the game that his company has. he has his own modded version. He takes their DNA, uploads it, has them in the game, and they all are like supposed to worship him because he is the lead head commander of the USS Callister. Weird. Nanette's DNA gets uploaded after her little slight towards him, and her clone, because it's not her, her clone that is now on USS Callister is not having any of this. No. She gives in some to try to, she gets threatened enough to where she tries to give in, but she's not about to give up completely. So after several failed attempts, they do end up getting the best over on Robert. And long story short, they end up making it out of his modded version of the game through an update that's coming. And he ends up stuck in his game. We think because Season 7, the trailer just dropped earlier this week, or last week, based off of when I'm recording this right now. And it seems like there is a sequel, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I can't wait because 10 out of 10, I would definitely watch USS Callister again, so I'm excited for a sequel. It's the most cinematic episode. It made me feel like I was watching a movie rather than an episode of Black Mirror, which is like the highest compliment that I can give. I would watch that if it was its own series. And I don't even like space kind of shows. I'm a big fan of real space. I love space, but like Star Trek type stuff, I never really could get into that. But I love USS Callister. Nanette, she's an awesome character. I love her drive. All the characters are really well written. The story's interesting. 10 out of 10. Next on the list is Archangel. We have a woman who is giving birth in the opening scene, and she's having a baby girl. The baby girl's name is Sarah. She's born, but she's not crying, which obviously stresses out the mom who's worried because most babies are born crying. Most, not all. Like I don't think I was born crying, but I might be wrong. Either me or my brother, one of us, I can't remember. But this stresses her out, and obviously that's going to make a parent feel protective. Well, an incident happens when Sarah's about 3. She goes missing from a park that the mom took her to because she followed a cat away from the park. This stresses her out, and so add that extra layer of protectiveness that she already had. She decides, okay, well, I'm gonna get a device implanted in my daughter's head. That way I can know where she is, what she's viewing. I can block out if what she's viewing is stressful or inappropriate for her. And just for an added plus, I can also see her vitals, like her glucose levels, her iron levels, and other things that we will be mentioning shortly. Basically, this is Archangel, and like I said, it gets implanted in Sarah, and her mom uses it to her advantage until this becomes an issue. And Sarah, as a child, I think she's about 9 years old, she decides she wants to be exposed to the things that she is being blocked from. Other kids at school are telling her about it. They're introducing this to her, and she's the weird kid because she has this blocker in. She doesn't even know what blood looks like. So after harming herself with a pencil to try to see the blood and slapping her mom, she gets basically told by a professional that she should probably turn the system off, which is what she does. And Sarah finally gets exposed to the world at the age of 9, fully. For instance, she sees the dog that's always at her neighbor's fence whenever she walks by to go to school. It scared her when she was a little girl, but ever since the block was put in, it was just a blob that would make gargled noises. Time passes. Oh, since this block is removed, there's a kid at her school named Trip, I think Trip or Trick, and he exposes her to the stuff that she's been missing out. Time passes and she's a teenager now. She's 15, I believe. And she still doesn't have the block, as far as we know. Her mom didn't use it. It got put up in the attic, put away, and things are going pretty good. Sarah's, the usual teenager, pretty normal. She lies to her mom, unfortunately. She says she's going to be watching a movie with a friend, while actually she's going with another friend and a group of friends, including the guy who was showing her stuff, to like a little teen hangout spot. Sarah's mom, she has a date, but she can't really even get into it, it seems, because she feels like something's not right. So she heads home and decides to dust off the trusty old Archangel and boot it up. And she does this just in time to see Sarah losing her virginity to Trip, which is very awkward. This starts up a thing to where this is about to become a regular thing. She ends up seeing also that Sarah tries drugs, not the kind that grow from the ground, but the kind that, snow, basically. She tries some of that, and it's given to her by Trip because he's selling it to leave his father's home, I'm assuming, because there was some kind of he states as a child that his dad hits him. It's like a throwaway type of thing. He doesn't get visited again, but I would imagine that he's doing desperate actions to get out of a very desperate situation that he's in. So I'm not trying to beat too much on him, but Sarah trying it is, he can't control her, but it would have been nice if he could have, I don't know. She tries it. The mom sees it, not okay with that. She basically confronts Trip and says, "You need to stay away from my daughter," straight up. So that scares him enough that he does so. Sarah's devastated by this because in her mind, she slept with this guy for the first time who she seems to really like. She's known him since they were kids. And after being intimate with him in this way, he just totally ices her out and says nothing. So while she's having her one of several freakouts over this, we see the mom get an alert on the Archangel device, and she is troubled. The next day, Sarah gets her morning smoothie that she has. We see her as a toddler getting her morning smoothie. No big deal. She gets sick in class. She goes to the doctor because, she got sick. The doctor tells her not to worry because she is no longer pregnant, even though the EC that she took made her sick. It worked, and she's not pregnant. This is news to Sarah because she had no idea that she was pregnant. But how would she have taken this EC, I wonder, if she didn't know she was pregnant? The smoothie, her mom got an alert. The vitals popped up that, I guess, confirmed that she was pregnant. The mom went to a pharmacy, got some pills, crushed them up and put them in the smoothie so that she would not be pregnant anymore. This obviously enrages Sarah, who goes home. She confronts her mom. She ends up beating her mom with the Archangel device until the device is broken, and I think she thinks her mom is dead. So she leaves. She runs off. The mom's not dead. She wakes up and she goes out into the streets calling for Sarah. Sarah is long gone. One of the final shots is we see her walking along a road and she gets into a truck and drives off. So she's a 15-year-old runaway and no one has any way of knowing where she is. It's very bleak, but a very good episode because helicopter parents are very much a thing, and technology can really help you kind of smother your child in a way to where they will push back and they will find ways to push away from you, and you don't want to try to smother your child so much to where you've pushed them away completely, and now I guess a parallel to that would be them going no contact with you in real life. So that's really deep. I've actually watched it more than once, so I can't even play like that. It goes up to 10 out of 10 would watch again. It's a really good episode, really a good topic that you can get a good discussion with if you watch it with somebody. Next up, we have Crocodile. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I hated this episode. I hated it so much. It's gonna go under Dear God, what was that? I hated it, but I'm gonna recap it briefly. So, there's a guy and a girl in the beginning of the episode. They're driving. They are distracted or something. They hit a cyclist. Instead of calling the police or something, they dispose of the body. Because, smart. Years pass. The girl who, I mean, she was like a young adult then. She's a grown-up now, an adult. We're following her. She's our main character. And basically this guy, the guy from the beginning, finds her, and he has been haunted by this, and he wants to come clean. He wants to tell, I think it's the wife of the cyclist, that, you know, they're responsible for his death. The woman wants none of this because that means she has to go down too. So she ends up, I think it was an accident, accidentally killing him. So yeah, now you have two bodies. Good job. She ends up disposing of his body, so it's like, great. Good job, good thinking. So now there's another woman that we see, and this woman is an insurance claim investigator. That same night that killing took place, just outside of the woman's apartment building or wherever it is she lives, there was an accident. A pedestrian almost got hit by a car, or got hit by like a self-driving car or something. So she's going around and she has to interview people to make sure that insurance goes out like it should, if it should. And instead of just relying on these people's stories, the technology in this episode is a device that you can hook up to them, and it plays back what they saw. So she ends up going to this woman. The way things line up, she ends up at her house, at her wherever she lives or is staying. I don't know. She hooks her up to the device, and unfortunately, for her, she ends up seeing both of the murders that have been committed through the woman's memory. She can't have any of this, so she ends up abducting her, and she does end up killing her and her entire family. She drives to her house and she ends the husband who's in the tub and the baby that is in the crib. And that is why I hate this episode so much, because there's so much senselessness. It makes me so angry. Oh, and then also the fact that she does get caught in the end, so that's great, but it's the guinea pig that catches her. The police come and they hook up that memory device to the guinea pig that was in the room with the baby. And that's how they end up catching her. They go to her son's school where she's at, I think a play or something, and they catch her. That ending made me so mad. Something about it just made me so angry. And for that poor baby had... Dear God, what was that? No, but like low key, I'm like, can we send her to White Bear? Is that too controversial? No, I'm just kidding. Kinda. Yeah. Maybe. The next two are gonna go by quickly because I didn't watch them. I have not seen Hang the DJ, and I have not seen Metalhead. Okay, so next up on our list we have Black Museum. This is another Russian nesting doll of stories, kind of. Not really, but there are stories in the story. So we open up with our main character. She's a woman named Nish, and she's on her way to the Black Museum. She gets there, and it's owned by a man named Rollo Haynes. This museum has like different kind of pieces of technology with interesting backstories. For instance, I saw one of the bees, I think, from Hated in the Nation was in there, as well as Easter eggs hinting to like White Bear. So the first story that we start off with is about a doctor who he uses this kind of technology to help him practice medicine. And basically it allows him to feel the pain that his patients feel, which is really handy because sometimes, a patient might feel something and they don't have the right words or phrases to adequately explain what they're experiencing. So this allowed him to, feel it and diagnose it properly. But it kind of goes bad because he gets addicted to feeling the pain from his patients, and the experience does enough for him that he decides to eventually he ends up killing a homeless person. This causes him to get into like a comatose state, and that's just where he is still, just stuck. So that's pretty dark. But if you think that's dark, the next story comes and says, "Hold my beer." So there's a little toy monkey in the museum. And basically, the story behind this monkey is that there was a wife and a mother. She ends up in an accident. She's comatose. She can only communicate really through, I think, a box where it would light up green or red based off of, I think, her answering. I think that was the same episode. Anyways, technology allows things to go further, and she is kind of implanted in the mind of her husband to the point where she can like see what he sees and he can hear her speak. She can, I think, feel what he feels. So she's able to like feel her son. She can hug him because some time has passed since she was able to, and he's a little older now because he was like a baby. Things, unfortunately, start to go south, though, because she, like I said, she can see everything, so she gets on to him for stuff. Like, I think he doesn't wash his hands after using the bathroom at one point, and they get into, like, a little argument over that. But even bigger, she's noticing that he's starting to move on, and he's showing interest in a new neighbor who moved into their neighborhood, I think even next door, close by. Either way, she is very threatened by this. Understandably so. In order to provide him with, privacy and not have the second voice in his head, they decide to move her consciousness into a toy monkey. This allows her to still be around her kid. Her kid can hold her and hug her, carry her around everywhere he goes, like how kids do with toys. And now she's also not in the dad's business, so that's a plus. However, what kids also do with toys is they can be obsessed with them for like a week and then drop them and never pick them up ever again. And that's unfortunately what happens to the mom in the monkey toy. Her child has abandoned the toy and her consciousness is still here, stuck in the monkey. And I think like whenever she's sad, it says like monkey needs a hug. And I think whenever it's happy, it's like monkey loves you or something. I don't know. It's really heartbreaking and sad. And it's like, Jesus Christ, oh my God. The next and final story is over the main attraction for this museum. Basically, there was a man named Clayton who was executed for a murder. And he was made into a clone type hologram. Oh, it's really dark. Okay. Basically, people come to this museum in order to continuously torture this clone hologram. It has his consciousness in it of Clayton. They pull the lever for the electric chair to electrocute him, and it's just enough to where it won't kill him, but it will leave him stunned. So much to the point that this man, he can't communicate. He just sits and he just looks with a vacant look when he's not screaming and writhing around in pain from the electrocution. It's really sad, and it's dark. It's really dark. At the end, people get a little keychain as a souvenir, and the keychain is the hologram of him screaming continuously on loop. Really, like I said, dark. So now we come to the plot twist. Haynes noticed that he doesn't feel right, okay? And it's at this time that Niche mentions that she is the daughter of Clayton, and she has come for revenge. And that's exactly what she gets, because she hooks Haynes' consciousness up to the same thing that her dad's is, and she pulls the lever at the very, very top, so that way it kills Haynes, and this of course kills her dad, but that frees him because now he doesn't have to continuously suffer. Yeah, she gets her little keychain and it's Haynes screaming. She gets into her car, drives off, having accomplished what she did, and she makes sure to tell her mom this. Her mom has passed away and her mom has been uploaded to her consciousness, very much like the mother and wife from the second story. That's a really moving episode. That last part really got me. I wouldn't watch it again for my enjoyment because those stories were so heavy. So it's gonna go under all the feels, good and bad. Season 5, episode 1, Striking Vipers. There's a guy named Danny, and he has a friend named Carl from college. Danny is like settled in his life now. He has his wife. Her name escapes me, but I have it down. I'll get to her name when we get there. But basically, he has his little family, and it's his wife's birthday, I believe, or it's his birthday. And there's a party. One of the guests is Carl. Carl comes and he brings a little copy of the game that they used to play all the time in college together, and little VR headset so that he can play the game in this new kind of platform rather than the one that they used way back in the day. So nighttime comes and, he's getting ready to play his game and settle in. They're playing, having a great time. Everything's fun and stuff. Friendly banter back and forth. Because they're playing as their usual characters that they would play in high school, The game is it puts me in the mind of like Mortal Kombat or something. But then we see Carl's character kiss Danny's character. They kiss, and that's when a whole can of worms opens up. So there are issues, it seems, in his marriage with Theo, his wife. Danny, I kind of got the sense when I was first watching the episode that he wasn't completely happy, because they started off with a flashback to the college days. He seemed more full of life, as you are when you're younger, and he seems kind of bored. Maybe? I don't know. This was a hard episode. I feel like a lot of things went over my head with it, because I almost feel like it wasn't as deep, but maybe it really wasn't. I don't know. Anyways, he stopped sleeping with his wife, and this is really frustrating for her because I think they were both talking about wanting to have more kids, but like she says, if they can't have kids if he won't get in bed with her. But he has no problem being intimate with Carl in the game, so that's kind of interesting. There's a bunch of like back and forth of, oh, we shouldn't do this, oh, it's okay, until it spills. Well, I mean, it does spill over in real life, but until they confront each other in real life after Theo unexpectedly invites Carl over for dinner one night, and they, at the table when Theo's not around, decide that they're gonna meet up later. Okay, so Danny decides he's gonna kiss, Carl to see in real life if there's any kind of connection there. They kiss, and there's nothing. They end up fighting though, and they both get arrested. And it's on the way home in the car, Theo, she basically, the poor baby's in the backseat, passed out sleep, their kid. It's basically hinted at that's when Danny reveals everything as to what's been going on. It seems in the final episode they have, or not episode, in the final minutes of the episode, it seems like they have some type of arrangement. I don't know if this is a whenever the feeling comes up type of thing, or if it's like a birthday present type thing. I mean, anyways, the arrangement seems to be that Danny is free to play his game with Carl however he pleases, and whenever that happens, Theo is free to leave her wedding ring at home and she can go out and spend the night as a single woman. Yeah, like I said, I don't know the frequency as to this, like if this is a once a year type of thing or what, but it's an interesting episode. I probably just will put it under that was decent because I wasn't struck with any kind of heavy feelings, and the ending left me kind of conflicted because I felt bad for Theo. I felt bad for everybody because it almost felt like everybody was lying to themselves in a way. I don't know. I might have to read other people's opinions on this, and maybe there's stuff I missed, but it was a decent episode. Definitely my favorite part of it was the actor who plays Carl, because that is a beautiful man, I will say so. Yes, he is. Thank you for being in this episode. Thank you for being on this earth. Thank you. Next is Smithereens, and this is another quick one because I didn't watch it. I didn't. Maybe I will one day. I don't know. I'll see. Next up on our list, we have Rachel, Jack, and Ashley 2. Okay, so this is a fun episode. We have Miley Cyrus in it, and I hadn't seen Miley Cyrus act in anything recently. I don't know if she has or not. I don't watch a lot of things, but it was really fun to see her in this because my brain kind of forgot, oh yeah, she knows how to act also. So it was pretty cool, and she has a fun personality that she always brings to her characters. So in this story, we have two sisters, and they live with their dad. They're both like high school age. There is no mom. Their mom has recently passed away. The girls, Rachel and Jack, it's Rachel's birthday coming up, and she expresses interest in a toy called Ashley 2, which is an AI little toy robot version of her favorite pop star Ashley O, played by Miley Cyrus. And Rachel is actually played by her name escapes me, but I know she was in the Mean Girls remake. She played Katie in the remake, so that's really cool. Anyway, she ends up getting the toy for her birthday, and it basically becomes like her best friend. She talks to it. It's really encouraging and kind and sweet to her, sensitive, understanding, all the kind of things that it seems like Rachel kind of needs, Meanwhile, her sister Jack is just totally annoyed by it. She thinks it's cheesy, it's ridiculous. She's weirded out by their whole parasocial relationship kicking off. Ashley, too, even encourages Rachel to audition for her school's talent show. She helps her set up a whole routine to one of her songs. She gives her the dance moves and coaches her through it and everything. And she ends up going for it. But she ends up falling like right towards the very end, and it devastates her totally. Just like really heartbreaking, because that seems like the thing that this girl would need to go into a shell of herself, and that's what happens. Jack is bothered by this and upset that this toy has caused her sister to become like this, so she hides her up in the attic but tells Rachel that she threw her out in the trash when the garbage men came to pick up the trash. Meanwhile, the real Ashley is going through it. She has to have her persona, that's what she shows to the public on camera, to her fans when she's performing. But this is very different from the Ashley that is the real Ashley. Her aunt is her manager and also in charge of her image and will not allow her to be her true, authentic self. she starts to try to have some pushback, and the aunt's not having any of this. The aunt has been having her people drug Ashley, giving them to her. She knows what these are, but Ashley's been hiding them and stashing them away. The aunt has cameras put into Ashley's dressing room and finds out that she's been stashing the pills. She takes the pills, grounds them all up, puts them in Ashley's food, feeds the food to Ashley. Ashley is now in a coma and won't wake up. But don't worry if you're worried for the aunt, which you shouldn't be, because she's a horrible person, but also because she has technology hooked up to Ashley's brain, because Ashley has mentioned several times that her writing for her songs comes from her dreams. She dreams her music and wakes up and writes it. In her comatose state, she can dream constantly make music, and they can tune it to where the sound fits what the aunt wants to put out rather than what Ashley's actually feeling. So 6 months go by, and whenever Rachel found out the news, right when it happened, about Ashley being in the coma, her sister went and got Ashley 2 out of the attic and gave it to her. Ashley 2 gets put back in the bedroom, and 6 months later, it's like a news report comes on, and the reporter says, "Ashley, wake up," or something like that. The right words to trigger for the robot to get turned on. And basically talks about how the aunt says that, Ashley's in this coma due to a shellfish allergy, which this causes the Ashley 2 to freak out. There's a line mentioned earlier that the Ashleys had battery issues, and one of the little girls during an interview says that her Ashley 2 freaked out when she heard the news. And I don't know if the battery issues are caused to them short-circuiting from hearing the news, or if that's just something to say why maybe there's no more Ashley 2s, but this one works since it's been off upstairs in the attic, but now it's on and awake and it hears the news, freaks out. Jack, she's a teenage girl, but she loves her sister, so she's just okay, I'm gonna try to figure out how to fix this stupid toy for you. So she hooks her up to the computer. There's an image of a brain with a little red section that's only lit up, really tiny. They remove the firewall and the whole brain lights up, and the next thing they know, it's Ashley O is in the toy. There had been a firewall set up to where she was only using a small percentage of her brain and personality, but now they have unlocked her completely, which is good because she tells them, what's up. She's driven and decides, I'm gonna free myself, but she can't because she's a tiny little toy robot. She needs their help. She gives them the address. They go, they fight some of her goons off, and they end up waking her up. They go to the convention or whatever kind of a presentation the aunt is at to present some kind of Ashley hologram. Think Tupac or Elvis. They have this Ashley hologram so she can do performances now. And they crash the presentation, and the aunt is screwed, basically. The episode ends with Ashley now having her music her way. She's performing in a really grungier area. Jack, the sister, is in her band because she plays music also. And in the audience is Rachel with her little Ashley 2, and it has this little anarchy symbol on its tummy now. And it's a cute episode. It's really fun. So I will put that under 10 out of 10 would watch again because it's a light, fun watch. It's a comfort watch. Cool episode. Whew. My voice kept going out, so drink some water, so hopefully that won't happen. Definitely won't with the next one, Bandersnatch. Short, I didn't watch it. So for our next one, we have Joan is Awful. Okay, that's a good one. We have our main character, Joan. She wakes up. She's going to work. We see her get her breakfast. She has her commute. She does her job stuff. She ends up having to fire one of her employees, who's played by Ayo Edebiri. And Joan is played by Annie Murphy. This is important for later. Anyways, she goes home, no, that's not true. It'd be a lot simpler if she went home. She had a therapy session She met up with an old friend, I'll say for right now, and then she went home to her boyfriend. They're getting cozy, they're about to watch a show together. They turn on the TV and they see a show called Joan is Awful. And it's really weird because the main character, Joan, is Salma Hayek. This character is being portrayed by Salma Hayek, but she has Joan's hairstyle. Joan sitting on the couch watching it. That's her hair. So what's this about? They decide to watch it. Basically, they get a retelling with some embellishments on Joan's day. Yeah, so the boyfriend basically sees that in her therapy session, she mentioned him as being bland and boring, basically, and that she doesn't feel like she's the main character in her life, which is like really sad and stuff. But the most devastating part is probably the fact that the old friend she met up with was actually her ex who's in town, and she did meet up with him and they did kiss. So the boyfriend, he's not having any of that, so he leaves, understandably so. And now we're stuck with Joan, who has become a reluctant reality star, and she doesn't know how or why her life is being followed. So it's because this company, it's called Streamberry, and it looks suspiciously like Netflix, but anyways, they're following her. We find out later that they have this whole plan to do this with everybody, but Joan is one of the first people they're doing this with. Joan realizes she needs to get their attention, and she thinks, okay, well, I can do this. I can also get Salma Hayek's attention. Salma Hayek, she can do something about this because, she's the actress. She is the Salma Hayek. So she goes and she does something that she knows will be shown on the show because her life is shown on the show, and she basically grossly embarrasses herself in front of a bunch of people during a wedding, and it's really gross, and I'm not going to go into detail about it, but she gets arrested. So Salma Hayek, as her, has to perform this on the show. And it's not even the real Salma Hayek, it's a likeness of her. But anyways, Salma Hayek is bothered by this and decides to confront Joan. So she winds up on her doorstep. Turns out she has also tried to go to Streamberry about this, and they don't care. They don't care. This doesn't stop them, though, because this is ridiculous. So they go, they come up with a plan, they break in, they get in. They get to like the control room where all the main system is stored, and they're greeted by, well, not greeted, but Michael Cera works there. And I say Michael Cera because he reveals that this Joan is not Joan. This Joan is Annie Murphy, the actress. There is a Source Joan. Source Joan is the one who's being copied. We are watching the show, a version of the show, not the real Joan. You follow? Yeah? Okay. So basically, they're trying to get Annie Murphy, Joan, not to destroy the thing, but like she says, I'm here because Source Joan is already here and she's already made her decision. Source Joan decides she's going to destroy it. So that's what we see as it flashes between Source Joan, Salma Hayek, Annie Murphy, and then ends with, Source Joan. And basically the episode wraps up with her, she's at her therapy session and she says she does now feel like she is the main character in her life. She has her dream job. She owns her little coffee shop and she's happy. People are happy working with her. And it looks like she has a little friendship with Annie Murphy because we can only assume that, since we watched a show version of it, everything that we saw Joan with Salma Hayek actually happened with Source Joan and Annie Murphy. So they have their little friendship and bonding over their shared being under house arrest type thing. So it's a really cute episode. Very cozy watch. It will go under 10 out of 10 would watch again. The acting was great. It was really funny. And it's a crazy concept to think about, There is a lot of reluctant reality stars in some cases, people who, even if it's just for 2 minutes, get recorded in public, and the video gets uploaded and shared all over the place. Just imagine if that was your whole day, but a show for everyone. No. very interesting idea for an episode. Next on our list, we have Loch Henry. Okay, I'll be like straight up and honest with you. This episode is very... Okay, so we have a couple. It's Davis and Pia, okay? They're going to his home, his home country. They're visiting the guys, where he came from, his mom, all of that. They meet up with one of his friends at a pub, and they get to talking about, a crime, terrible crimes that were committed there by a serial killer named Adar. I think I'm checking my notes. I can't remember pronunciation. Anyways, Davis and Pia, like, they're working on a documentary. Pia's like, yeah, let's cover this for the documentary. This should be the story. So Davis, if I remember, he seems kind of reluctant, but he goes along with it in the end. They break into Adar's basement or whatever, and they find like crime footage because Adar would record his crimes, Similarly, his mom has a bunch of videotapes in her possession, and they're all of her favorite TV show. I can't remember the name of it. It's some kind of, I think it's like a cop show, but she liked the actor in it, so she taped a bunch of episodes of it. So, turns out these mom's videotapes actually contain evidence because the guy's dad and mom helped the serial killer kill people. So the mom gets found out because Pia ends up seeing the footage. I can't remember the circumstances, but she sees it. She ends up dying stupidly. Like, she's like running away from the mom because I think the mom, I don't know, I can't remember if the mom knew that she knew or not. I think she did. Or she figured it out. Pia runs, she falls and hits her head like on a rock in a stream and gets like swept away. She's dead. It's really stupid. It happened though. So anyways, the mom, she ends herself there in front of all the evidence. And basically, I think like left a note for the son saying like he could use it all for his documentary, which he does. And I think he like in the end wins an award or something, or he's some kind of success from the documentary. I'm not as like going over that one as much because the whole episode was really weird to me. I'm putting it under myth. I think. No, I'm gonna put it under, was that necessary? Because it didn't leave me with anything. It was the least Black Mirror feeling episode. I understand maybe the technology was the footage that, that was on the mom's videotapes, but I don't feel like the technology part was as strong as it like could have been. This could have been any kind of show, like an episode in any kind of anthology series over like true crime or something like that. Nothing that made it really feel Black Mirror. And then certain setups were just like, Pia's death was so silly to me. It happened and I was just like, really? Are you serious? This is how it ends for you? Okay. Next up, we have Beyond the Sea. Ooh, okay. So, there are 2 astronauts and they're up in space. They have copies though, and those copies are allowed to be on Earth with their families. So, kind of like 2 places at once, but like the astronauts, they can like log in, I guess, their consciousness to be active one place or the other. So, Josh Hartnett is in this, and his character's name is David. David's family one day is brutally murdered by some like Manson family hippie wannabes. I don't think it was supposed to be the real one, but they destroy his family and his clone. He's stuck in space now with no clone to go to, no family to go back to, none of that. His partner up there is played by Aaron Paul, and his character is named Cliff. Cliff basically, he goes home and he like tells his wife about this and everything, and they come up with the idea that, well, why don't you just let David borrow your, clone sometimes so he can get a break from being stuck in space he can go out in nature and stuff. So they do that. And it seems okay at first. David, his first time going, he goes out into the woods with Cliff's wife, and she consoles him because he's like, he breaks down finally, over his family. And I can't help but think of that kind of, I mean, it makes sense that she would console him, but I feel like that started something because David eventually gets the idea that, okay, well, to thank you guys, I can make you guys this painting. Cliff finds out that, David is a very talented painter. He's a talented artist. So he offers to make a painting, but he would need, supplies. So he would need to borrow Cliff's body for a while so he could go down to earth and paint with supplies and stuff. So this happens, and he kind of slowly starts to form an inappropriate relationship with Cliff's wife. And she doesn't get too wrapped up in it because the thing is, she's not into David. She loves her husband, and it's like, this is her husband's body, but she has to remember this is somebody else's consciousness in her husband's body. Basically, things blow up, things go south. He tries to come on to her. She says, absolutely not. The wife is played by Kate Mara, who I've seen her in like American Horror Story. She's a great actress also. That's one thing that I really love about this episode, is that all the actors were really great, really amazing. So, like I said, things go south, and long story short, David borrows Cliff's body, and in retaliation to being rejected by Cliff's wife, he kills the wife and their child. So now Cliff is stuck in the exact same position as David. Well, Cliff's, I assume his clone still exists, but right now you probably wouldn't want to be in that consciousness because your whole family is dead. Yeah, because he does go there. He goes there and he sees his family dead. So that's probably not where you want to be right now. I don't know what's going to happen when they come back down to Earth in a few years, because they're up there for a few years. I don't know what's going to happen, who's going to get punished for what, but it's a crazy episode. It made me think a lot. I don't know why they didn't keep the real ones on Earth and send the clones up to space, though. I don't know about that. That has me wondering. But otherwise, I'm not going to think too hard about it. I'm going to say all the feels, good or bad, because I don't know if I would watch that again. That was rough. It's like I knew that he was going to kill the wife and son. I knew it was going to happen. But when it did happen, I was still just like, man, that's just so senseless. It's like, it happened to you. Why would you have that happen to someone else? Anyways, that's beyond the point. All the feels. Next up, we have Maisie Day. And, yeah, okay. So it's a throwback episode. It's like big 2006 vibes we got kicking off. We have music. You could tell from the way people are dressed, the music playing, pop culture clues. It's everywhere. We are in 2006. There's a woman, and she basically decides she's going to give up her paparazzi job, her paparazzi gig that she has, because one of her subjects that she released photos of coming out of a hotel with another man unalived himself, and she feels guilty, rightfully so. I'm gonna say, because mind your business, what privacy, but yeah, she decides to walk away from it, not at that particular moment, but after, she feels guilty. She goes to another gig and she's watching these dudes harass this woman. Her fellow paparazzi dudes are harassing a woman actress. She feels disgusted and she walks away. So anyways, the thing is, she needs money. She needs money though. An opportunity will come along for her, but we need to switch to another part of the story, which follows an actress, and she's out somewhere acting. She's at home. I think she was drinking wine, and did she like take mushrooms or something? I feel like she did something else, because I would have already been shocked at her getting behind the wheel of a car, having been drinking wine, but I think I was especially outraged because you did 2 things and now you're getting behind the wheel. How are you even awake? But she does so, stupidly, and she ends up hitting a person. I say with a question mark because we'll see. She gets sent away basically to a rehab facility for a while, and this leads us back to our main character, who is played actually by the same actress that voices Amber from Invincible. So I think that's really cool. I think her name is Zazie Beetz, so that was really cool. One cool thing about this episode, this gives our main character her opportunity for some money, because whoever can get a picture of this actress first, with her being at this rehab facility, is going to get like a really big payday. So she decides to go for it. So long story short, she runs into like some of her paparazzi co-workers, because it's like one of them she's cool with, and like the other 2, it's like they're garbage people. But anyways, she runs into them. There was a diner earlier too that they went to. That I feel like nothing's really important in this episode, because I'll be straight up, I hate this episode so much. I hate it. I do. I really do. Because what is it? The actress might have hit a werewolf and got bit by it, and now she's at this rehab facility not due to substance abuse, but because it's actually a rehab facility to hold in werewolves, I guess. I might have missed something. Please, if I did miss something and then everything makes sense, I would be so relieved, but like, I really don't know. I'm at a loss, honestly. But yeah, she breaks loose from her chains and she kills everybody except for the main character. And the final scene is the woman, she's back to her human form, and she's like pleading for the main character to end her and end her suffering. And all the main character does is hand her a gun and picks up her camera, and we can see from the outside of the diner, because they're back at the diner, you know, everybody's dead, so it doesn't matter. They're at the diner, and all we see is the flash of, you know, the camera at the same time as we hear the ringing of a gunshot. So I guess she got her payday in the end, but my god. With that being said, that goes under, does it go under Dear God, What Was That? Or was that even necessary? I'm gonna put it under Dear God, What Was That? It's there with Crocodile, and Crocodile is there because it was so deeply disturbing that I'm like, Jesus. But this one, I'm just confused by it. I'm not so much disturbed as I'm like, almost, I wish these 2 categories could go together. Dear God, what was that? And was it even necessary? Because what was that? But it'll go there because it's my least favorite, and that's at the bottom without it being unwatched. So that's where it goes. And it looks like they have something here for season 7, and obviously that's unwatched. But I'm looking forward to it. It's coming out April 10th. That's what the trailer says, April 10th. Like I mentioned before, there's apparently going to be a sequel in it to USS Callister, 6 episodes total. Maybe I'll come back for another video and watch those and rank them and include the ones that I skipped here. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, guys, so that wraps up our tier list we have here. We see we did pretty well. Black Mirror is a really interesting show. I'm glad I started watching it. I started it, I think, November last year, and definitely there's an episode for everybody, you know, so it was fun ranking this. I hope you guys liked this video. Please, maybe down below, comment which episodes are your favorites. Which ones do you watch again and again? Which ones do you avoid? Which ones do you wish you hadn't watched? What do you not like? What's your least favorite episode? Comment, like, share, subscribe. I'll be making more videos here in the future. I really appreciate you spending your time watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!